Hello, it's R.A. Cook again, and we're on Module 4. This time, we're going to dive into uncharted waters. You're going to learn how to show and not tell. First of all, I'd like to remind you that you need to take action no matter what. Procrastinating just won't get the writing done, so you need to write every day. Let's learn about honoring the Muse again. This is where the habit of writing every day and creating a writing routine drives your work, drives your story. No matter how small your effort seems, go forward. On those blank days, those days when nothing comes to mind, try to do 3 small things toward writing. Use prompts, organize your material, do some research, write a letter, write an email, write a blog. Once you get started, you'll feel like working again. The important thing here is to honor your writing muse and sit down at the same time every day to write. Now, honestly, I've circled my wagons plenty of times. I've squirmed in my seat, I've gazed out the window, straightened my desk, gone to the kitchen for another cup of tea or coffee. But over time, I've learned to cheerfully greet the muse and write. And honestly, if I miss a day or two, my muse nags me until I switch on the computer and strike the first key on the keyboard. Cut a deal with yourself and commit to writing every day. You won't be sorry. Okay, let's move on to developing your story. Every story has its own course, and every writer composes in their own voice, has their own style and perception of the world. For some, writing is really pretty easy, and for others, it's arduous. Unless I have a clear idea of setting and what I want to do, I concentrate on dialogue on my first draft. And this is the technique that works best for me. I bang out the dialogue and briefly sketch in a short setting or scene, and then I know that I'll go back later and expand the narrative. If I need to do more research, I mark the paragraph or section, knowing I will come back and fill it in later. So you want to focus on your plot or your sequence of events in the story. In every case, the plot drives your story, and it is the center stage. Plots can be many things. They can be adventuresome, romantic, luring, transformative, and on and on and on. Theme, or the meaning of your story, needs to correlate with your plot, so it all kind of fits together in a very nice package. In The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien wrote many, many themes into his epic story, but the strongest one, in my opinion, is the struggle between good and evil. Here's a tip. After I finish a rough draft or part of one, depending on the length, I read the piece out loud. And believe it or not, reading your piece out loud solves many writing issues. Right away, you can spot errors you've overlooked. So I would recommend that you make reading aloud a habit. You'll find plot errors and typos and awkward wording much, much faster. Let's move on to show, don't tell, or active opposed to passive voice. In general, English sentences use the subject, verb, and object order. So here's an example. An active voice will say, "The child screamed at her mother." Or the passive voice is, "The mother was yelled at by the child." So you can see the difference between the two. What you want to strive for are the active verbs in your story. because action moves the work and it creates a connection with the reader and also eliminates the tendency to tell. For me and a lot of other writers I know, learning to show rather than tell is one of the hardest writing skills to acquire. I know I have a tendency to tell and not show, and I am painfully aware of this foible. So once I've finished a first draft, I go back and I reread and I correct the areas that might be passive trouble spots. And I'm always willing to revise. Here's a few examples of passive opposed to active sentences. The first one is, sentences will be stronger if writers delete to-be verbs. That was the passive version. The active version is, authors who delete to-be verbs write stronger sentences. Another sample, passive, the vest was worn without a shirt underneath. Active, he wore a vest without a shirt underneath. The last one, passive, reducing the use of passive voice is one way to engage readers. Here's the active version. Engage your reader by reducing passive voice. Speaking of revising, revise, 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 revise. And I cannot stress this enough. You must edit your work aggressively. The left brain loves to correct and organize. This is a trait that comes in handy when you're in the revision stage. So you need to be grateful, even when it actively tugs at you for the right word, and I mean it can. I can't tell you how many times I've agonized over using the right word. Sometimes I've awoken in the middle of the night when the right word finally pops into my head. I know. But I'll have to say, every experienced writer agrees that all writing is really rewriting. It's a given. Here are a few key points to look for when you're revising your work. You want to switch out intangible or summarizing words like beautiful, sad, wonderful, and choose something more specific, a specific word that works better than your general wonderful word. Check on your story structure. Do you have a beginning, a middle, and an end? Does your story title perk the reader's attention? Is it specific, catchy, without giving a plot away? Does your dialogue sound natural, authentic? Do you have too many characters or too many scenes? Is your point of view consistent? Have you checked the spelling, the grammar, and the punctuation? Those are all really, really important things to look for in your work before you turn it in and have it submitted to an editor. So be aware of those things. And when you end, I suggest that you end well. What do I mean by that? Well, an appropriate, satisfying ending bodes well for any story. But try not to end too soon. That is, unless you intend to shock your reader. But even then, think twice about it. Okay, we're coming to our summary. So here we go. You want to honor your muse and make a commitment to write daily. And you want to develop your story and give yourself a really good chance to make a good story. You want to show and not tell. You want to revise and then revise and revise and revise until you have something good there. And end well. Whatever it is, end it well. All right, here's your challenge for Module 4. Take 10 minutes and write a paragraph or two about a disturbing or an emotional situation you had during the past week. Share it with a friend or drop it on the Talk Story Facebook group and chat it up. I'll see you there. What's next? Module 5 is Keep Going. I'll see you there.